What is good, agency owners? Welcome back. My voice is hoarse today because I'm so excited for this conversation. We got Ryan James, founder of Rocket SaaS. He's been able to scale big over the last few years, really remove himself from most of the operation. And we're telling the story of how he did that. And in all seriousness, I am sick, but I didn't want to delay this conversation. So, Ryan, welcome in, man. Thank you for coming on. For everyone that does not know you, who is Ryan? What's Rocket SaaS?
Yeah, hey Jordan, great to be on. I'm a big fan of the pod. I listen every week, so it's an honor to be a guest on the other side.
Wow. Love it. Let's go.
and yeah, thanks for having me on despite being ill. I'm a little bit ahead of you on the journey. I've got a kid that's 15 months old, so I know what it feels like to be in your shoes. How old is your kid?
9 months, 9.5 months. I sleeps like shit.
Okay, well, hopefully that'll get better.
I'm up like 5 times a night, at least.
Ouch. Okay, well, hopefully your second child will sleep better. But anyway, yeah, so about me. Yeah, I'm the founder of Rocket SaaS. We're a marketing agency for B2B SaaS companies. So we essentially found a bit of a gap in the market where SaaS companies, they raise a load of funding, overinvest in salespeople, massively underinvest in the marketing department, and they usually hire like one lonely marketing manager to try and do everything. And they're usually very stressed and pissed off. So we provide SaaS companies with a whole marketing department. So you get a team of 7 people, LinkedIn ads expert, Google ads expert, head of overall strategy, marketing executive, designer, web developer, and a content creator, all for roughly the same price as hiring one person. So it's a really good sell when we meet people that are thinking of hiring their first marketing person or second marketing person. So work with us instead. You get a whole team. And yeah, that's our offer in it. And it works really well. We've scaled it massively. I love it. Thanks to you guys.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And hey, that's why we're here. So guys, Ryan is an interesting case study because Ryan became a client of ours in 2020, like at the end of 2022, start of 2023. We worked with him for a year and then he went off on his own and then he did a boomerang, came back. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit about the life cycle. So let's kind of go back to when we first met you. When we first met, right? Very different time of your business. Like I have, you were doing like 60K a month all the way back in 2022. So like almost like, 2.5 years ago. Uh, you were looking to be able to grow. You wanted to hire people, but that wasn't consistent. You need to structure your operations. You had a team of 5. You wanted to hit team of 7, 8, which is funny because you say now, like when you hire us, we give you 7. At that time, you had 5, right?
That's right.
So when we started working with you, where were you in terms of like issues of why you weren't able to grow past 60K as fast as you wanted to, and why'd you come to ADF?
I think it was the biggest bottleneck for me was myself. Every single client that we took on was managed by me. Everything had to go through myself. Hiring people was challenging, trying to find the right people. We had no processes. Every time we took on a new client or a new employee, it was just like kind of back to square one of going through the same processes. And yeah, we just were scaling very slowly. And then as we became kind of fulfilled in terms of the number of clients that we had, we were churning clients because the quality was dropping. So yeah, operationally, we were just in a poor place essentially. And also we were kind of lacking the recurring revenue side of things. So even our offer, we're basically more a website design agency back then. So it's much like fixed revenue. We would take on clients and then we build them a website and then they'd leave and come back maybe 5 years later. So there wasn't that recurring revenue side of the business. So that's what we introduced, was starting doing more services that we get clients sign up to a subscription for. So doing things like LinkedIn ads, Google ads, ongoing CRO, content creation. And that massively helped in terms of just growing an MRR of a business as opposed to fixed revenue. And then you guys massively helped us sort out the operations in terms of making that scalable.
So to recap for everyone, because we did have a little bit of a technical mishap, when we met Ryan, you were selling websites. You now sell subscription services. Operations weren't great, didn't know how to scale effectively. You were the center of everything. And today, you're not needed in day to day. I know your COO is your wife, but things are far better. You've grown a lot. Um, let's kind of pull back the curtain. When you think about the last 2 years, and guys, if you're listening and my voice sounds like RFK Jr., I'm very sorry. I didn't want to wake up like this. It just happened. What are some of the biggest changes you made in your operation and your business that allowed you to not only grow but also step away?
So the first thing, without a doubt, was SOPs. So SOPs are absolutely transformational for us. I think we found them at just the right time when we were like 5, 6 people big. So as I said earlier, like we used to take on clients or new members of staff and just used to kind of go back to square one in terms of, okay, you have to sit down with me and I have to teach you how to set up Google Ads, or I have to teach you how to onboard a client. Whereas now we've got SOPs with Loom videos of me recording myself performing the task. We use ChatGPT to transcribe the Loom into a written SOP with clear bullet points that people follow. We have what's called definition of done, so people know when the task is complete. So suddenly I can start taking on clients, taking on new members of staff, and my personal time has just massively been reduced. And people just go through these SOPs, or even when people are like, they've forgotten how to do something because they've not done it in a few months, they just reference the SOP rather than having to Slack me and have a meeting with me. Oh, I forgot how to do this thing. How do you do it? So that's really been transformational in terms of just basically creating processes in the business that people come in, they learn SOPs, they follow this path, and shit gets done quick without having to speak to me or anyone else senior in the business. So that was definitely the biggest thing that we did at the beginning.
And for those of you that haven't gone through 8F2, the thing that also, Ryan, it's the workflow, the first step, the second step, the third step. So building a rigid project management process that has the SOP in it, right? So um, we implement a structure, we implement a consistent process. What happened next? You start to do that. You start to get a lot of time back because you're not redoing so much. What happened next that started to allow you guys to keep growing and moving?
Yeah, so then the next thing is looking at the org chart. So it's all very good, like my team not needing me to train them and teach them on everything, but everything was still ultimately going through me as I was like the top of the pyramid in one big team. So that's when we got to kind of like 12 people. That's when it started to become a real issue. So I was taking on about 20 clients. And I was like, I can't manage any more clients. It can't all go through me. So with you guys, we looked at the whole org chart of the business and we looked at org charts of bigger agencies. So if your agency was 30 people, 50 people, 100 people, what does the org chart look like? And it definitely doesn't look like one pyramid with one guy at the top with all clients. So you start to kind of zoom out and visualize that, and then essentially breaking the company into teams. And that was absolutely transformational in terms of growth. So we're now at the point there's 26 people in total in the business. And rather than one big team, we've got 5 individual teams. There's various different departments that do other stuff in terms of we've got a department for design and web development. But in terms of the client facing teams, there's 5 teams. There's 3 people on each team. And at the top of each mini pyramid, each team is a really shit hot account manager, and they do the job that I used to do. And so now we're at the point where we're taking on clients. I'm still involved in the sales side of things, so eventually I'm going to transition away from that. But now when I do the sale, contract gets signed, the client gets assigned to one of those mini pods, and I'm not involved. And it's a wonderful, wonderful place to be as an agency owner. I do genuinely feel like I have escaped agency prison.
Unbelievable.
I know one of your phrases that you coined, and that's a big one.
I did. I love that. So it's actually so cool to hear because the pod structure is such a simple hack to say, all right, what this group of team members can take this amount of clients. And also, dude, you went from 5, so we met 27 months ago. If we're doing the exact math, 27 months. In 27 months, you went from 5 to 25. You had 20 people. That's significant growth. That's crazy. And you exit ops. So structure, process, rigidity, good project management, SOPs and training, structure on pods. What happened next? So we combine all these things.
One would be hiring A players, and the other would be training CB players into A players. So It's kind of a brave thing to do as an agency owner to hire your first six-figure employee. You're going to pay a high salary, and obviously that's a scary thing to do, particularly when you're
Yeah.
small. So I kind of did it at the right time when I had the right amount of cash. But as soon as I did it, it's like, transformational. As long as you get the right person, of course. And I've been fortunate enough that I have hired the right people in those kind of A player roles that I pay high salaries for. And those are the people that run those mini pods that I just mentioned.
So those are like your ops manager slash account strategist.
Yeah, you call it. Yeah, you'd call it like a marketing manager in our case, as we're a marketing
Hmm.
agency. So it's, but yeah, it's the account manager is the typical name that you'd call it. It's someone that is the head of a pod. So yeah, the hiring process is key, because what you find with hiring is that some people are really good at selling themselves in interviews, and they sound amazing, but in reality, when they join, they're just not as good as what they were at selling themselves in the interview. So yeah, you guys really helped me out with the process of hiring, the various different like tests that you give people to understand that they know what they're talking about, and the various different stages of interviews, the way that you get them to send a Loom video is the first stage. Because the other thing is, when you're putting out these jobs for like six-figure salaries, you get like 1,000 applicants. It's very, very hard to kind of filter through all those people, and you could miss the good ones if you don't take the right processes to hire people correctly. So that was a big thing, hiring. And then, yeah, the other thing is taking your existing people and training them up. So when you get into the 20s, you need to start promoting people, because recruiting people is hard. Recruitment fees can be expensive. The time that it takes is hard. It's much easier to promote somebody from within, and also much more affordable. You save a lot of time if you have this culture of promoting people. And when you promote people from within, you get a great culture within the company. Everyone's ambitious, everyone's happy, everyone's feeling driven to work harder, because they know they've got a real high chance of getting promoted, because they're seeing other people around them getting promoted. But the only way you're going to get promoted is if you get trained effectively. So we have this very clear like org chart now and structure in the company. So if you're on a pod and you're like in position 2 or 3 on the pod, you've got clear growth. You want to be a pod manager. You want to be that marketing manager role. So we have very clear skill sets of what you need. These are the skills you need to get promoted. And if you want to go through training to get promoted to that level, just let us know and we will put you through that training program. And if you excel at that and you excel at your role, the next time that role becomes available, you're probably going to get promoted, as opposed to us hiring externally. So yeah, the training side of things has really been crucial. And you guys have got a really good process of how to train people effectively.
So you just said so much that there's so much depth behind what you're saying. Um, let's go into the hiring. So to your point, you could hire the wrong person and then you're going to screw yourself over. It's going to take a lot of time. So what we did with you is we built uh, the filter process, right? So when you get 1,000 applicants, how do you filter it down to 100? Let's put them through a test. Let's put them through an assessment. Let's ask them some questions on like, how would you respond to this? Like, what would you do in this situation? We hire them. And then what you also says, because of the SOPs and trainings, we started to build on top of that. We built a really good onboarding and training process to integrate them. And then on top of that, as we're growing more clients, more revenue, you mentioned an HR process and a retention process. Here's the path to go from A to B to C in your career at Rocket SaaS. And here's what it looks like 1, 2, 3, 5 years down the road. So that's actually something that a lot of people don't talk about, because the psychology is you need to, as an individual, you need to be able to see where you're going in order to get there. And a lot of people in small agencies, they feel stuck because they don't, it's like my company, I don't have a place to go. So where do I go? So I love that you paint that path. And then you're training them. So what are the things you built over the years on training? Like, what does training actually look like in terms of whether it's the content, the meetings, the hands-on training? Like, what are those specific things?
Yeah, so the first thing that we do is skill gaps. So we identify what skill gaps an employee has. So let's say if you want to become one of the marketing managers in the business, these are the skills that you need to have. And we've got a clear spreadsheet of all the different things that you need. Some of it is just years of experience. Like you need to have at least 3 years experience within marketing to become a marketing manager. So that obviously just takes time. There's nothing else you can do about that. But all of the other things are things you can learn. So, you need to learn how to effectively set up LinkedIn ads. You need to know how to build a retargeting campaign. You need to know how to correctly brief a blog article. You need to know how to communicate with clients and create reports. All of these things. You need to know how to manage a team, for example. So we have this spreadsheet. And then if someone is interested in getting that role, either in the near future or in the distant future, we basically share that spreadsheet with you in a meeting, and we put ticks and crosses in all of the cells as to whether we think you've got that skill or you don't. What we do is we get them to do it themselves, and then we get their manager to do it as well. And that's quite interesting to see where your manager thinks you've got these skills and where you think you've got them. And then we discuss, okay, why are there differences here? And then we say, right, let's work on getting green ticks in every single cell. If you've got a green tick in every single cell, you are number one in line to get this promotion. So that's what we call skill gaps.
I love that. I love that.
Good. So that's what we call, just identify the skill gaps and then training people on it. We have an SOP for every single one of those things, but that's not good enough. Like, that's not training. Like, I kind of made that mistake early on, is that I just thought, okay, SOPs are fine, just chuck them a bunch of Loom videos and they can learn on their own. It gets them so far, but that's not proper training. You need first, the SOPs is a good place to start, and then you need to give them the task to perform it, to be able to ask your manager questions in terms of, am I doing this correctly? Why do you say this in the SOP? Why didn't we do it like this? So obviously lots of Q&A. And then the key thing is getting them to do it in real life for a client, and then you sitting down and taking the time to feedback to them and say, you've done this really well. You haven't quite done this correctly. I would have done this slightly differently. Why did you do this like that? So that kind of feedback loop is the difference. So SOPs gives you like the initial knowledge, but it's the training that gives that feedback loop with the manager. And that's why training and SOPs are different. I kind of learned that on my journey with you guys. So that's really powerful.
I love, one of my most favorite things is, as someone who's been running this business, just seeing the journey of a founder like really get it. And you know it. Like, it's so cool. I hate my voice, by the way. This is so sad. I sound like this in this conversation. It's so cool for me to see how much you get it, because skill gap is something that's really not brought up much, but it's such a powerful tool. It's like, we're going to meet every month or every week, and we're going to go through, these are the things you have and these are what you don't. And that's the training plan. And we're going to sit down, and you said it, like, it's not just, here's a Loom video. Let's sit down. Let's review what you did. I'm going to show you and train you and train you and train you. And I'm going to make more content around it. It goes into library. And it's such a, just such great kudos to you for actually building all this.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, growing a business is much more of a science than it is an art. And that's what you guys teach. You teach the science of it.
100%.
So yeah, whether it's agencies or running a bakery, it is kind of the same stuff, like sales, operations, marketing, processes, org chart. So once that kind of clicks in your head, you're like, okay, I kind of get it now. I'm not just kind of throwing shit at the wall and just hoping some of it sticks. It's like, if I learn these processes and how it works, then I'm going to scale. And suddenly it just kind of clicks in your head one day. And yeah, you guys kind of master that operational side of things.
100%. And I appreciate you saying all that. So to recap up until this point, right? When you built all this, you built the workflow, the process, the SOP, the trainings, the sourcing, hiring, onboarding, training process, the development process, the skill gap analysis, the management process. We didn't go too deep into it, but like, we're talking about one-on-ones and sitting down with people and like mapping out their career. So you built HR. You just said a lot. How long did all this take for up until this point? How long of a timer? 1 year, 2 years? Because it's been 27 months. So it's,
well, I mean, yeah, the company's 4 years old, but we really started to ramp, I would say, yeah, kind of 2022. So yeah, about 2 years of hard work.
So this is a full 2-year arc, a 2-year cycle. So how many total managers do you have in your organization right now?
There's 4.
Who's managing those managers?
So they report to me.
Okay, so they report to you.
So now I've only got 4 people reporting to me as opposed to like 20.
So you, as a manager of managers, what'd you learn in the process of doing that well to like make sure those people are being successful on your behalf? What were the 1 or 2 big insights?
I think giving them structure and freedom at the same time. So when we take them on and we onboard them and teach them about the company and the processes and the clients and how we've done things in the past, just make sure they kind of understand that and make sure they understand like the tools and the remits to how we work, but then giving them flexibility. So a lot of my managers often come to me and they're like, "Oh, Ryan, am I allowed to do this campaign? I've had this idea for this thing. What do you think?" And I'm just like, "Okay, just you go. Like, I've employed you, pay you a lot of money. You're great. I don't want to micromanage you. I want to give you flexibility and freedom to run your campaigns the way that you want to run them, because I think you're a better marketer than I am.
Mm. Ooh,
So I shouldn't be telling you what to do."
that's a big insight, by the way, too. No one comes on here and says I hire better marketers than me. So you're also paying a lot. You're hiring better marketers. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, my background's like website design, website development, and we somehow accidentally turned into a marketing agency. So I don't, I'm not really a marketing expert. I'm pretty good at running a business, pretty good at sales, but I'm okay at marketing. I mean, I've heard you say the same thing about you. I think you're an excellent marketer, but you
I'm a
never really kind of studied or did marketing.
I'm a far better CEO than I am a lot of different things. I've heard, you say here, I heard Gary Vee say, it's like, I think my personality is CEO. Like, I don't think I'm a, you know, I own an accounting firm now too. Like, I don't know how to do any of that shit. Right. So it's like, um, giving them the structure, having that expert that knows how to do that, and then just saying, here's what I need from you to be successful. Go out and go do it. Stay within the lines, but go do it.
Yeah, so you have to let go. So you're never, ever, ever going to scale an agency if you're going to be a micromanager, if you're going to have to keep control of everything and have to be CC'd on every email. So one of my best kind of like growth stories that I kind of had in business is when I hired my first like A player, and he was my first marketing manager. It was kind of a big deal, and he was looking after some of my clients. And a few weeks went by of him working for me, and I started to get a bit itchy. I was like, whoa, why is he emailing clients and not CCing me? Like, why is he doing that campaign and he's not telling me about it? Like, he should be CCing me on every email. What's going on here? But then something in my head went, no, don't call him up on it. Like, let him go, let him do his thing. And it was really hard for me to do that.
Let him make my life easier. Yeah.
But I did. So I let him go. And then, like a month later, 2 months out, I'm like, oh, everything's going great. The client's really happy. Like, results are going up. He's doing his thing. I'm concentrating on my stuff. This is great. This is a revelation. And that was a real lesson for me. I never told him to do that. He just kind of did it on his own. And I was like, okay, so this is how it works. This is how you scale an agency. You hire people and you let them do their own thing.
And that's what A players do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They don't even ask you for permission. They just go do it.
Yeah, so now I learned that lesson. Now I encourage not just the A players, but everybody. I'm like, you don't have to like ask me all these things. You can just do things yourself, trust yourself, make your own decisions. And sure, that means that sometimes things go wrong, but if you've got the right people and you train people correctly and you make sure that, issues get addressed quickly and that's how they learn, then that's how you scale. You cannot scale by just being in control of everything all the time.
Unbelievable. So Ryan, this has been an amazing story, and I'm so happy for your growth and where you're at as a founder, a CEO. So Ryan, you've done all this over the last 24 months. What has been the trajectory of growth? What's it actually led to, and whether it's dollars or percent growth?
So I think when I met you guys, we were doing 60K MRR dollars, and we're now doing 180K MRR in dollars. So what's that, like triple?
Which is killer. That's 300, 6, 12, 18. That's 300% growth. So if you grow by 150% every year, you 2.5x every year. That's a pretty crazy thing to do. So yeah, Ryan, congratulations, because that's a massive going from 60 180 was that 2 point that's 2 point that's about 2.2 million. So going from like sub million to multi seven figures is a huge growth, and growing from 5 to 25 is huge. So congratulations, just acknowledging your growth over a 25-ish 26 month period. And if anyone wants to learn about Rocket SaaS or you, where can they find you guys?
Yeah, so rocket-saas.io is the website. If you are working in SaaS, I also do a weekly podcast, SaaS Marketing Weekly. You can find that.
I love it.
So yeah, check those two out.
Awesome. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on. We'll talk soon.
Cheers, Jordan. See ya.